Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Get to Know DealCloud webinar series. I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself and my colleague who will be running today's webinar. Together, we lead the teams that work with our clients post-go live to drive adoption and success. We'll learn more about those teams in just a little bit, but to start, I'll introduce myself. My name is Laura Fallone, and I'm the Senior Director of Client Success here at DealCloud. Just a little background on myself. I've worked in the client success world for over 10 years, with the last 7 years focused on building scalable client success and product support teams. My experience has been with high-touch SaaS organizations, each with a large, diverse, and global client base. As I mentioned, I'm joined today by my colleague, Stephanie Fels, the Senior Director of Account Management. Stephanie, please take a moment to share your background.
Sure, thanks, Laura. Hey there, my name is Stephanie Fels. I joined DealCloud about 4 years ago now. I had known the leadership team for a number of years prior to that. My previous experience includes over 10 years working in the industry in SaaS and in sales and client services positions at Capital IQ and PitchBook. So I spent my entire career partnering with capital market professionals, GPs, advisors, LPs, lenders, and everyone in between. I now lead a team of account managers that support a portfolio of 800 clients globally.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, so today we're going to provide an overview of the resources available to DealCloud clients. But before we begin, we wanted to take a moment to review a few housekeeping items. First, we at DealCloud, like all of you, are currently working from home, so there may be an occasional noise that we hope you excuse. Second, as Zoom experiences high usage volume, we may experience connectivity issues or slowness. While unlikely, it's worth mentioning that if we or you have any issues, this session is being recorded and will be sent to all attendees after the webinar is complete. Lastly, I would like to encourage all participants to submit questions during the webinar via the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Stephanie and I will answer questions live at the end of the presentation. With that said, let's get started. So the goal of today's session is to share some of the resources that are available to our clients. We will cover the 3 main ways we support our clients and how you can start utilizing those resources today. I also wanted to take a moment to talk about our team. Between account management and client success, we have over 75 people that are dedicated to our clients. With offices in New York, Charlotte, San Francisco, and London, we're available across multiple time zones to ensure our clients are supported when it matters most. All right, so we all know that DealCloud is a complex product, and since our users have many different learning styles, we offer a number of resources and options to fit every need. For a more self-service model, we offer documentation resources, including quick reference guides, release notes covering new features and enhancements added by our product team, and technical documentation for some of our more advanced features. Next, we have our more hands-on and interactive resources, including our self-guided platform certification and interactive learning sessions run by our training team. And last but definitely not least, we have our dedicated resources, including the team I just mentioned before. Some of what we do includes a hands-on site health assessment, ongoing site configuration and refinement help, technical integrations, and our managed services offerings. I'm going to now turn this back over to Stephanie, who will begin to talk through these in a bit more detail.
Yeah, so great. We have a full self-service online portal at users' fingertips. As a SaaS business model with rapid product release cycle, the release notes, packages, and training videos are made available in DealCloud University, what we also call DCU. It's also a place where folks can find helpful quick user guides and other documents. That includes things like web services and open API documentation, 2-factor authentication, or single sign-on docs that folks can reference. Now, in order to access DCU, at the top right of your screen, there is a question mark. And by simply clicking on that, it will take you to the homepage of DealCloud University, and you'll see there is a section dedicated to those documents. Now, there's also a number of different learning tracks in our DCU portal for self-guided training. And those include a platform certification, power user training, short how-to videos for DealCloud features, and new release functionality. Now, for professional development, something interesting that we've seen in the industry is that professionals are now referencing DealCloud as a skill, just like they would for Microsoft Excel or any relevant business application. We've seen these companies will list it as a valuable skill in job postings or resumes or LinkedIn profiles. There are two levels of technical knowledge that can be acquired. One is a power user certification, and this typically is taken by most users that have pretty heavy usage of the system. Most times that'll be analysts, associates, VPs that are in charge of running pipeline management or day-to-day reporting activities in the software. They're probably inputting and editing the data on the most frequent basis. This level of certification arms them with the technical knowledge to configure notifications, workflow automations, create reports, set up email campaigns, etc. The platform manager certification, this is full and unrestrained access to all admin tools in the platform. It includes the backend features that allow for more impactful changes to the system framework. They can change the way certain fields are calculated automatically. They can create new list objects, form relationships between various data sets. Essentially, they can transform the data architecture. And for any of these learning tracks, technical knowledge is, this technical knowledge doesn't require a software development background. It's point and click technology, and any business user can easily pick that up. An interesting fact is that in the past 4 weeks, since we've been all remote now, 40 people from our client base got certified on DealCloud. It's actually a significant uptick from the usual activity we're seeing. We find that while some folks have a bit more free time on their hands these days, clients are choosing to dive into some add-on configuration projects that can enhance the value of the system for their firm. Now in DealCloud University, all of those courses are available at the top of the page like you see right here. Users can complete these learning tracks at their own pace. They're all divided into chapters, ending with test quizzes. Folks can come back and pick up where they left off every time.
Thank you, Stephanie. So in addition to the self-guided trainings that Stephanie just covered, we also offer regular live training webinars covering several topics geared towards new users, including new user introduction, dashboard configuration, creating template reports, and building My Views. You can easily find these webinars within DealCloud University by just clicking on the Register for Live Web Trainings found at the top of your screen. Once you click on that, this will bring you to the main page listing the webinar topics offered. You can then select the one that you're interested in and will be brought into the registration page where you can then select your preferred date and complete your registration. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, we have over 75 team members that are dedicated to supporting our clients. We wanted to take just a few minutes to run through the teams. So I'll let Stephanie start off with her team, account management, and then I'll jump in and talk about the teams that I work with.
Yeah, thank you. So the account management team is responsible for a number of areas. One is develop a strategic plan to maximize product adoption and uncover additional areas of value that we could deliver. Develop a trusting relationship with decision makers and key stakeholders at the client organization. We're also a point of contact for contract management type of things, pricing, subscription term details, documentation, things of that nature. We also help coordinate resources to deliver add-on configurations and user training services. And we provide industry experience, change management, and strategic direction to our clients.
Awesome, thank you again, Steph. So our client success team consists of over 20 team members who partner alongside the account management team to ensure our clients' success with the DealCloud platform. We're focused on everything post-go live, including site refinements and enhancements, and one-on-one training sessions to walk you through your DealCloud processes. Throughout all of this, our main focus is user adoption and making sure your team is utilizing the platform to its full extent. Next, we have our product support team who is here to assist our clients with any product questions or issues that may arise. We work closely with our product and development teams to report product bugs and feedback on enhancements or new features that our clients bring to our attention. And as a shameless plug, please keep an eye out for an upcoming webinar run by myself and Kristen Palmer, who manages our product support team, where we will talk more about this team and how you can best utilize that resource. And last but not least, our technical and managed services team is here for ongoing post-go-live work that includes more complex projects. This team is focused on larger site configurations, implementation and rollouts of new features, as well as technical integrations with other software and services.
All right, I'd like to talk about our post-implementation support model here. So DealCloud employees, we've now been working remotely for about 4 weeks. Luckily for us, we're a cloud-based SaaS business, and this new remote work has not caused any disruption to the company. Since we've been on this remote plan, we've conducted just over 20 client rollouts, so about 5 a week. And regardless how state-of-the-art technology can be, implementing a new system requires changing people's habits. We put in place a change management support structure for that. When clients go live with DealCloud, once the implementation's over, we have some check-in points and we propose some specific KPIs we've seen successful with other peers. The most notable one is a health assessment called the Power Index, and it's carried out at the 180-day check-in mark. I'll be covering that in more detail next. All right, so for attendees on this webinar that have not yet gone through this, we highly recommend that you schedule some time with your account manager to go through this exercise. This is a point where we provide a diagnosis of your current deployment and think about areas beyond the core initial implementation. So the Power Index was designed as a framework that evaluates several areas. One is a technical evaluation of the deployment and site design. It's an education and reinforcement of best practices, and we talk about new product features. It opens up an opportunity for discussion of product feedback and support, and we end with a mutual agreement on a plan to address areas that require improvement around operational efficiencies or product usage. There are various levels of scoring that reflect the value that clients are getting from each of those assessment areas. A low score by no means represents a bad implementation. There may be valid business reasons for not choosing to focus on those, that's all. I'm going to touch on a few examples and areas of assessment, and later we'll dive into some specific scenarios. But under the execution section, we have, for example, clients that come to us to help them implement a new compliance checklist on live deals. Others will ask us to help them create an investment committee voting process where members can cast votes, generate reports, have a full audit trail for those. Or perhaps it could be setting up a new pipeline to manage lenders or other capital providers on each live deal. For investment banks, it could be managing buyers or counterparties on engagements or fully automating the buyer log report. Under the relationship management umbrella, use cases can include strengthening the coverage of intermediaries, sponsors, investors, or any relationships that really matter. Maybe it's creating better visibility into talent management and industry executive tracking. Or it could be developing a PR strategy with email marketing engagement through deal announcements, thought leadership pieces, and white papers. Within the institutional knowledge section, you'll find examples such as providing support with post-mortem analysis on dead or declined deals. What are the rationales on passing on those deals or losing to those? The number of deals that were dead on arrival, or identify top producing employees or teams. Other examples include identifying strongest deal sources on the market for your firm, or analyzing the deal velocity, the average time it takes to close a deal, or to pinpoint the stages where deals tend to get stuck. That institutional intelligence could also include third-party data integrations that enrich your own proprietary data by automatically pushing that market intelligence into the system. And finally, under the analytics and reportings rubric, some projects we'll see are, for example, designing a new investor coverage program to enhance the way clients cultivate and strengthen relationships with existing investors and potential LPs, or things like setting up a new staffing model that allows us to calibrate the workload for team members to execute key activities on projects they're staffed on. Generally, for this consultation, I'd like to mention that the Power Index is designed for different client types. So whether you're an investment bank, a GP, a fund of funds, lender, a limited partner, or a corp dev professional, there's a different scorecard that's applicable to that business model, and we've mapped out all those use cases. It's not a perfect science, but it allows us to surface areas that require attention.
Awesome. So in addition to the Power Index consultation Stephanie just covered, there are several other areas where our account management and client success teams like to proactively focus on with our clients. As you continue to grow your business with DealCloud, there will be times that you'll need to onboard new users as well as entire teams. This would lead to custom training programs geared towards the unique teams working within DealCloud, as well as new reports, dashboards, notifications, and other configurations dictated by the growth of your business and processes. You may also choose to add on one of our other product offerings like Data Cortex, our data integration tool, or Dispatch, our email marketing tool, or you may be looking to integrate with an entirely new system, which is where our technical services team come into play. But most importantly, we are here to answer your questions and guide you onto the path of success. So before we get into the Q&A session, we wanted to run through a few examples of requests that come into our teams and how we can help. There are 3 delivery teams that are here to assist with all client requests. You'll notice as we go through the examples, they progress in complexity, which drives which team is assigned. First, we have our client success team who will handle any minor site refinements and configurations that can be completed quickly or alongside our clients. Next is our managed services team who works on larger and more complex add-on projects. And finally, our technical services team who runs our technical projects, including API integrations. So the first example is one that would be assigned to our client success team. Again, this team is here to help our clients through a collaborative approach to not only execute on the work, but to educate our clients on the best practices, all geared towards increasing usage and adoption. So here, the example is, I need help setting up a new dashboard, and it would be great to also create notifications for myself and my team who will be monitoring that dashboard data. So when we receive requests like this, our first step is to reach out to our client and talk through the request and determine the best method of execution. There are times where we can just knock it out for you, and others where we will take a more guided approach to help our clients learn how to make these configuration changes on their own. We have found that this greatly improves adoption and success with the DealCloud platform. As with any change, whether an implementation, client success, or managed services, we ask that the client confirm and test all changes to ensure it's working as intended. I'll pass this back over to Stephanie to share a few client use case examples with us.
Great, thanks. So here's one example of a dashboard. It's fee tracking. So here's a profile for an investment bank where fees are paid out. You can visualize those fees being paid in various ways. Here's an example of fees being paid by quarter or by industry. Some clients choose to do that by fee type, whether it's retainers or success fees, and understand where they are paying their investment banks and how. And then that detail is at the bottom here we have the bankers and each deal where those fees are paid out. And this then contributes to an overall score on the client where we can see, well, here are all those deals that they've shown us. Here are all the fees that we've paid throughout time. And those can be a couple of the various metrics that get bubble up into the overall score of that client. And we're going to touch on scoring a little bit more in a moment. Another example here that is different is that investment committee voting dashboard that I mentioned earlier. So here we're on a project live page. For that project, there has been a investment committee team assigned to it, and there's various stages. Those stages might be an introduction meeting, maybe there's a budget review, a process update, and then an investment paper that gets reviewed and finalized. Those milestones can be mapped out on a calendar to visualize. For each one of those stages, we see those committees and the final approval or result of the voting. And we can easily configure a way to attach documents relevant to the committee, right? The investment paper itself, some industry analytics, an investment summary, a memo. Some of our clients are filling out the memo directly in DealCloud, which gets automatically sent to that committee and attached in here. Finally, all of the votes can be cast in DealCloud. Some of our clients cast it real time while the meeting is happening, and they will refresh the DealCloud dashboard here and view the final outcome of those votes. And then here's a third example of relationship scoring. So for relationships that matter, there's various ways of tiering those out, right? It can be a manual tier. Here's an example of tier 1s, 2s, it can be gold, silver, bronze, things like that. Maybe the most important ones, tier 1, need to be put on a 30-day cadence. So we're keeping in touch, and there's a touch point proactively from the client to that relationship every 30 days. But beyond that, there's several things that we can incorporate into an overall client score. It's a little bit more nuanced and a little more sophisticated. Those can include things like deals shown. We all know that some deal sources may bring a lot of volume of deals, but not all deals are quality, or they don't fit the investment mandate, or vice versa. So the deals closed ratio is a significant one. And then another thing we can put into that score is the engagement on our communication marketing emails. And then we can get a bit of a picture here on a specific relationship to understand the quality of their deals, the volume, and then their engagement with us. And by the way, this is just an example. Clients can completely change the metrics that matter to them and that don't matter, and we can apply weightings to calculate an overall score.
Thank you, Stephanie. So this next example is one that would be handled by our managed services. As mentioned earlier, this team takes on requests that are more involved or complex. So in this example, we really need a better way to track executives to place in our portfolio companies. Our talent management process is inefficient. Can you help? This one is a more in-depth request where changes made could have an impact on other areas of your site or affect other teams' processes. When we have a request like this, we like to take a more formal approach in gathering requirements and establish project scope to determine the level of effort involved in completing the project. Once we complete the scoping process, a member of our managed services team will schedule a call to kick off the project, cover project timeline, and expected delivery date. I'll pass it over to Stephanie one more time to share another use case that we've seen for this example.
Great, thank you. So here's an example of talent management. It's a pretty popular request that we get from clients. So the quality and breadth of relationships that a firm has on the market is a strategic differentiator for our clients. The ability to bring talented top execs to successfully lead a company can determine the success of a deal. The company owners value the strategic direction and the way CEOs and execs intend to run the business after its sale. Whether these executives are hired during the deal diligence phase or hired on a temp basis to fill a mission post-acquisition, or permanently placed at a company, having a strong system to track those folks is critical. So here we have an example dashboard where we're categorizing executives by tier and industry. So here's one industry, aerospace and defense. Again, we can manually assign a tier based on our own knowledge of how strong our relationship is with that specific executive. It can be tracking CEOs, CFOs, heads of sales, heads of marketing, those type of execs. We can also implement a valuation score. And so that can be composed of a number of different variables. Here's an example where you can be pretty robust in the way you evaluate and screen execs. And at a certain time, you can evaluate and score them based on things like their P&L experience, their PE and M&A experience, their aptitude and capability to be a leader for that company, and fit as a CEO or CEO first. Some clients will adopt strategies where they're going to hunt down the right CEO first, and then they'll find the right company for that CEO to lead. So they have a CEO first strategy. Everyone has a number of different ways they'll go about that. But the point here is that you can configure and get pretty granular around how you track all of those executives on the market.
Okay, great. So the last example is one that involves our technical services team who focuses on API integrations with other software and services. So in this example, we would like to integrate with a couple of other systems we use in-house. One is for fund accounting and the other is HR for employee tracking. Can you help? So when we have a request like this that involves integrating another system to bring data and information into DealCloud outside of our normal pre-configured data Cortex integrations, we must take a more formal approach to fully gather requirements and establish a project scope. This will ensure that we are working with the right teams on the client's end and that we have a little impact on your day-to-day DealCloud activity while we work to set up and roll out any integrations. Once again, I'll pass this over to Stephanie to share a quick use case.
Yeah, so we have more than half of our client base have active API integrations with other systems. So those include applications in areas such as employee identity management. So for example, when a new employee starts, the HR management systems creates the employee ID and automatically enables access to all of the business applications that they're supposed to receive access to. Or through the single sign-on, it will manage those users as well. Same with an employee that leaves a company or is terminated, that can be managed very quickly through those type of systems. Other types include virtual data rooms, fund accounting and cash flow management systems, portfolio monitoring, or things like events management, annual meetings, roadshows, etc. And we actually have a white paper that expands on this topic available for you to download on our website. We're also planning on hosting a webinar solely focused on this topic in the coming weeks because we believe that this is a key component of a larger data strategy and technology stack design for our clients. So stay tuned for that. And I'd like to add as a closing remark before we go into Q&A, we sincerely hope that you were able to appreciate the operational structure we put behind our client services division here at DealCloud. All 75 of these people sit in the same time zones as most of our client base by design. And we've invested in this area of the company because we understand the cadence of work and expectation of this market. Because of the nature of complexity of this technology, it takes a certain amount of effort and pooling of resources to execute add-on projects, which is why we've layered in multiple delivery teams that can own projects based on the scope of work or on the technical skill. Overall, we observe that clients that invest their time into getting certified are much more efficient. They can solve many product requests themselves internally, or they can build entire new workflows without needing our delivery teams at all. Our goal is to turn over the keys of our system to the users. Of course, we're always here to support regardless, but especially during these abnormal times we're living, we're running business as usual and encourage you to come to us anytime. And thanks again for your attendance today.
Thank you, Stephanie. So we're going to begin the Q&A session here. And as a reminder, we'll be answering your questions live. So if you haven't already submitted, please do so using the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen now. We do have a few questions already, so I'll jump right in. We have Mary from IGP asking, what does a compliance checklist look like from DealCloud? And I would like to pass it over to Stephanie to go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, so every client seems to have a different type of checklist, but there are certain onboarding documents or onboarding steps that are key to some clients, making sure that the NDA is signed, that the investment committee memo is uploaded. Some incorporate ESG components. Their LPs ask them to verify that the investments they're making don't fall under certain industries or geographic areas globally. So whatever you decide, and we can help give you an initial set of data points. You can then pick those and select the ones you'd like, and we can set it up in a configure that for you. But happy to follow up. Thanks again. I think that was Mary Dole from IGP.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. So we have another one here, which I think I'll take this one. I've submitted support tickets to DealCloud in the past and had great experiences working through changes. It would be interesting to know if other users have similar challenges and if those pieces of feedback are incorporated into your product development process. That's a great question. So we do, we take all client feedback very seriously. So if there are challenges that we see as a repeat, we will take that to our product team. We have a bi-weekly meeting between our support and product teams to talk through the feedback we receive and get it on their roadmap. Depending on the requests that come through, whether it's an enhancement to a feature or process in DealCloud or a brand new feature that we have not yet incorporated, and we will cover that with them as far as necessity and interest level and get it on that roadmap. So it's great. We always encourage this level of feedback. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be having another webinar here probably in a few weeks. We'll talk more about how you can more readily access a tool to provide that feedback to us. Thank you for that question. Great. Okay, so we have another question here. Stephanie, this one will be for you again. We have Jacqueline who's asking, who's saying, thank you for our time today. Absolutely. But is there a way to track trade shows within DealCloud? Do you have a use case example of that, Stephanie?
Yeah, so we absolutely have configured the system to track industry events and trade shows. We don't necessarily collect any data to push those events out to clients, but we work with a data partner that has a capability, and one of their bread and butter capabilities is to track industry events. So we can take this, we'd love to follow up separately, but essentially what clients do once they integrate is that they will tag and sync the industries that they care, the events that they care about. They will sync all of the event attendees, and most times what they care about is the GPs or the portfolio company executives that are attending that trade show. So if it's, you know, a medical device trade show and CEOs are going to represent their company, all of those attendees with contact information will be pushed directly into DealCloud as contacts, and then the CRM notifications will activate themselves. The best way to set it up full from start to finish is to then layer on our dispatch tool. So you can send an initial email to all of those attendees from, you know, the person of your firm who's attending that, and start scheduling those meetings. And that email, we can configure it in a way that doesn't look like it's automated. It's personally written and coming from your colleague.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. Okay, so we have another question here. So every summer we gain about 10 to 15 interns. Can your team help train and onboard them to our DealCloud site all at once? I'll pass this back over to Stephanie once again, as account management focuses on training new rollouts.
Sure, we absolutely encourage your interns to learn DealCloud and assign some special projects to them. First of all, we can set them up with complimentary licenses for the duration of their internship. It's in our best interest for us and for you to have them work on specific projects. Some of those are data cleanup, for example. That's a great one. So data cleanup projects are great. And the best way to onboard them is to have them take the user certification course in DCU. So it's all there, it's at their own pace. They can follow that, become certified. That can be one of their onboarding and training projects in the first days of them starting. And then once that's done with your account manager, we can design a roadmap of projects for them to accomplish for you.
Great, thank you again, Steph. So we have one more question here. We are a newish client and are working to increase adoption and usage of DealCloud at all levels of our organization. Can you please discuss any tips and tricks that your powered clients use to increase and reward in a positive manner daily usage of the system at the associate, senior associate, and VP and principal levels. So as a quick note here, and I'll pass this over to Stephanie, I would echo what she just mentioned about the platform certification. That is definitely number one to help get your users up to speed on the DealCloud platform before even jumping into any training. But I'll pass this over to Stephanie to elaborate a little bit more.
Sure. So that's interesting. We do have a few tips and tricks that we've learned over time with clients. One thing that works with absolutely every single time, 100%, is to have your finance team and your finance department or a CFO sync the reporting and the compensation revenue attribution to all of these folks based on the data accuracy in DealCloud. So if they, at the end of a quarter or at the end of the year, when you're paying out bonuses, those bonuses should be based on the reporting that comes from DealCloud that shows all of the deals that were worked on, that were closed, the deal size, etc. And all of that can be tied to each user for a quarterly business review, biannual or annual. And if they are told, you know, we're going to go off of the data that we're seeing on DealCloud, you can bet you that they're going to make sure it's really relevant. Another thing that works well is if those folks want to get a little bit more visibility in the firm themselves, you can create some ways to call out positive actions in DealCloud. So for example, if you guys work in teams and one team clearly is running extremely efficiently on the product versus another team less so, you can call out in front of the entire firm and say, hey, this team has way more projected pipeline of business in the system than this other team. It kind of, you know, you're calling it out, but it kind of naturally creates ability and a little bit of, I guess, competition or adoption from users. And then a third level is establishing a daily newsletter that is automatically delivered by DealCloud into folks' inboxes that recounts and summarizes some of the key conversations that these guys are having, the users are having with clients. So if an associate or a VP just finished an NDA or finished reviewing and providing the financial due diligence to a client, they can add a note in the system saying, today this was completed and done. And if everyone goes in and enters those notes, we can establish an end of day at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., a digest of all the activities during the day. This will naturally create a way for people to see what notes are being logged in the system, understand what everyone's working on. And then more importantly, for those who are not doing this, they're gonna start getting onto the program because they want their name to show up in that daily newsletter. All right, I think there's another question, right?
Yep, we do have one more. So this question is, can you create template reports in Excel versus Word? So Steph, I'm gonna ask you to do this one. You're a whiz at the reports. We've done some pretty great stuff here internally as well. So I'll pass this one to you.
The wonderful world of Excel and reporting. Yes, so we aligned ourselves with the rest of the industry. Most vendors out there have really strong Excel and Word plugins. We have one too. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, there's a Download Resources Center. The same way earlier in this webinar where we show you at the top right of the screen, there's a question mark where you can go to DealCloud University. Instead of that question mark, there's another little icon that will let you look into that allows you to download the Excel plugin. And then the Excel plugin works very much like the other ones that you've probably seen already in the industry. If you've been trained with financial modeling and know how to use any of the existing ones out there, it's a formula-based plugin where you can pull data from the DealCloud servers into a spreadsheet. And not only that, you can then marry that data with third-party data through plugins and have multiple plugins running on one file and create your models that way. And if you'd like some help, we'll absolutely help you. In DCU, there is a small little crash course on the Excel add-in itself.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. And just to add to that, we use our own products here at DealCloud as well. And one of the things I have found in running a few teams here at DealCloud is that reporting is key, is not only key to understand what's going on in your business, but to see your team's performance. So I personally use the Excel add-in, Word add-in, and Outlook add-in in our day-to-day job responsibilities with our teams. So it's a really powerful tool that allows you to take the data and really manipulate it and work with it in a way that best fits your needs. So if anybody joining this webinar has not downloaded those, I highly recommend you do and start to utilize them, as they are a huge efficiency gain as far as running teams. Okay, great. So this was the last question here. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. As a reminder, this webinar was recorded and will be made available on DealCloud.com shortly. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact us using the email addresses that you'll see on your screen here in a moment. We have our support email as well as our sales email. Please also visit DealCloud.com/webinar for more information on our other upcoming webinars, which are taking place each week. Next week, we'll be hosting a session entitled The Connected and Collaborative Private Equity Firm. It's time to modernize the way you work, alongside our friends at RFA. Thank you again for joining us today, and we hope you have a great day.